Hello and welcome to the first part of a set of tutorials where we are going to look at creating a space game using MakeCode Arcade. Now, just to give you a really quick run through about everything that's here. The first thing is this little gamepad on the left hand side. This is your controller and your view, your player. So whatever you create here will appear in this little black screen. This here is actually a joystick, which you can move around, as you can see. And if I move the arrow keys, I'm tapping the arrow keys now on my keyboard, you can see things are happening. And if I press the space key, for example, now that's the A button, and there's also a B button there. That there is a reset, and you do have a menu here to sort of increase and decrease the volume as you need, should you wish to need to. Okay. At the bottom here, you do have a few other controls. So if something does go terribly wrong with the game, you can hit the stop button, which will stop the emulation here. You can restart it. We're not probably going to use the debugging mode, so you probably won't need it. You can also bring up keyboard commands, which will show you essentially what it is you need. So you can see the B key there. The B key there is the enter key, or you can also press the X key in the keyboard. And there is an option for having a two-player mode as well, which probably we won't look at. Okay, so let's get started. Now, hopefully you've done the first lesson and completed the planning section, and there was a very real reason for that. I need you to make sure that you've planned a few things and you've got a few things ready. Now, what we are going to look at is we're going to use this on start block, and we are going to put a sprite on here. Now, if I click on the sprites here, and I get this first one here, set my sprite to, I'm going to click drag and drop that into the on start here. Now at this point I'm going to get you to rename this. Okay, so this is going to be called our player sprite. So can you see where it's got set my sprite to? I'm going to click on this drop down list here, and we're going to rename the variable, and we're going to call this player. And the reason I want it to be known as a player is because obviously this is what we have called it in the planning booklet. So all you've got to do is rename it. Obviously it says there player already exists, so we have to change it to the name. So if we call it player or main player, then click OK. Great, it likes that one there. Okay. Now what we also need to do now is draw our sprite. Okay, so I'm going to click on this option here, which is the sprite window, and as you can see now there's an editor which has appeared. Now this is where your planning comes into play. Now this is an example that I've used, so you can see my player example is here. So that's what I've designed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make that in here. Now if I just go back to this very quickly, there was a reason why I gave you 16 blocks by 16 blocks. That is because this is actually 16 blocks by 16 blocks, and you can see there in the bottom left hand corner 16 by 16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start I'm going to go with drawing this. Now you are limited by colors, as you can see. You've got a few there to choose from. Don't worry if you've chosen colors which aren't on here or aren't exact. It's absolutely fine. Just do your best to make sure you've got something on there. Now, as you can see already, I've made a bit of a mistake, but I'll show you how to undo that now in a moment. So my aircraft, I think it's an aircraft anyway, is starting to take shape. Now, I'm not going to do it the entire thing, but I'm just going to give you a rough idea of what it is you need to do, and hopefully then you can see what I've done. Right, okay, so I need now to do two things. I need to delete that here, and to do that I'm going to click the eraser tool and I'm going to click on it there. Okay, so that's the first thing, and as you can see mine's actually lopsided, so I'm going to have to remove that one and then go back to my pencil tool here, click, and then drag another option there. Don't worry too much if you think it's off over to one side. That's fine. You can move things around, but you won't need to. You can select things here. There's a selection tool, and if I use that I can move it. But bearing in mind, if I selected part of this as an example and moved it, look, it moved only that part that I've selected. So there's the selection tool. And don't forget that if you need to make any more edits, you can just click back on the draw tool here, and you can then start to, if I go back to the erase here as an example, I can start then to erase certain things on there. Okay, now you can spend a little bit of time making your ship or whatever you've decided to go for, your choice entirely. Now you will notice before you actually go, mine is actually pointing up towards the sky. If you wanted yours pointing towards the left or the right, obviously you could just draw it then to the left or the right. Okay. Now once you are done with your ship and you are happy with the design that you've made and you think, yeah, I'm good to go with that, all you need to do is two things. You'll need to click the done on the bottom here, and then what you should find is, with a bit of luck, if I click on the recycle part here, my sprite now appears on the main screen. Now we won't move yet, that'll come in the next part, but you can kind of see there now what we've done. This is there, ready, set to go. So what I'm going to ask you to do is this. From the sprites menu, click on the set my sprite, drag it in, rename it. So rename the variable, click on the drop down, rename variable, and then double click on the sprite image, draw your sprite, click on done, and get to this stage for me please. If you want to try yours out, you may have to click on the reset button there, or the play button, depends if it's paused or not, just to see it work. Get that done for me now please. Pause the video and play it once you've done.